welcome. You're watching the News Hour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. When you get a negative RT-PCR report, you may think that you are out of danger completely, that you're completely recovered. You may let down your guard, but that's the last thing you should be doing, because right now there is something known as an epidemic within an epidemic, a mini epidemic that many are now warning against. We're talking about mucormycosis, better known as black fungus. In fact, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences has now said that they are getting as many as 20 cases daily of mucormycosis. The thing is that not only does it have a high fatality rate, but you stand the risk of within days the infection spreading through your body to your eyes, and you stand the risk of even losing your eyes. So far, 10 states across the country have reported a high number of cases, over 50 deaths because of black fungus reported from Maharashtra alone. The concern now is that the various loopholes that currently exist in our response in dealing with mucormycosis. Point number one, doctors say that excessive use of steroids in COVID treatment may lead to the patient getting black fungus even after the recovery period is over. The point is, how much steroid is too much steroid? The use of sterile water for oxygen treatment has been prescribed by the ICMR. But is that a standing operating procedure that is being implemented across the country? And then what about the treatment? Do we have enough drugs available at hand, knowing that this is a situation that could get worse? AIIMS itself, AIIMS Director Dr. Randeep Guleria himself has warned that the coming days may lead to the number of cases of black fungus exploding. Do we have enough drugs in stock? Is production being ramped up? Has the sale of the anti-black fungus drug been stopped in the open market? And if not, then are we again running the risk of being caught by surprise by this latest disease knocking at our door?
इससे सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि शासन ने क्या निर्णय लिया है, उसके वजह से उसके जो मेडिसिन्स है वो मेडिसिन्स पूरे मार्केट में कहीं भी पर अवेलेबल नहीं है। उस वजह से बहुत दिक्कतें आती है, और वो मेडिसिन कब अवेलेबल होंगी, क्या होंगी, शासन या हॉस्पिटल्स इसके बारे में कोई भी ऐसी श्योरिटी नहीं देते। तो पेशेंट इस वजह से हम इतने परेशान हैं, पेशेंट के रिलेटिव्स, कि वो इंजेक्शन कहाँ से लाना और कैसे करना।
कुछ हमको फार्मासिस्ट के थ्रू हमने कांटेक्ट करके लिया, कुछ हमने मुंबई से अवेलेबल करवाया। एक जगह पे हमको इंजेक्शन्स नहीं मिले, सब अलग अलग जगह से हमने गैदर किया। बट अभी फ़िलहाल में सब बोल रहे गवर्नमेंट ने टेक ओवर किया। अभी ना गवर्नमेंट के पास है, ना फार्मासिस्ट के पास है, ना मेडिकल में। तो हम अभी इंजेक्शन है कहाँ पे?
The News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Serious concerns regarding, and there are so many questions because not too much information is out there in the public domain, and yet we are increasingly hearing of number of people we know, cases around us who have been afflicted by the black fungus. So joining us now is a panel of experts, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Head of Department of Endocrinology in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, member of the Government of Rajasthan Advisory Committee on COVID, Dr. Ajay Swaroop, Chairman, Department of ENT at Sir Gangaram Hospital, and Dr. Raghuraj Hegde, Consultant of the Ophthalmic Plastic Surgery Service at Manipal Hospitals in Bengaluru. I want to start by asking you, Dr. Tandon, first of all, is it clear now that even those who may have completely recovered from COVID run the risk of getting the black fungus?
Very much so. A lot of people are actually presenting maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the line from the time they tested positive. Traditionally, we believe that a lot of them should have turned negative by then. Interestingly, however, let me hasten to add at this point that a significant proportion of the patients we're seeing at AIIMS, who are, let's say, at an average of about 3 weeks from the time they actually got COVID, who should have been negative for COVID by now, actually, if you do an RT-PCR, are still showing positivity. Now, whether that's just a positive test without infectivity, or whether they, because of their immune suppressed state, haven't been able to clear out the virus, that's a point for discussion. But clearly, as you pointed out in the very beginning, just by assuming that we've become negative for RT-PCR, it doesn't mean that the underlying immunosuppression, which could have occurred because of steroids, because of high sugars, for whatever reason, does not continue to predispose you to acquiring this particular infection.
So how long after we have tested negative can we assume that we are out of the woods?
So I think we really
And we
need to
can't get
understand.
black fungus anymore. We're completely safe.
So I think we need to understand what we feel are the contributing factors, right? The contributing factors would be COVID itself. Now, even if we know that even when a viral infection is cleared, the impact on the body continues for longer. That's why people feel exhausted, tired after a viral infection. That means the immune system of the body may not have recovered, even though we become RT-PCR negative. That's point number one. Point number two, if we've been given steroids, very often the steroids have continued to be given in tapering doses for varying lengths of time. And now those steroids will contribute further to the immunosuppression. Thirdly, the same steroids will also contribute to worsening of blood glucose. And very often what happens is, while the steroids are given, people do not look out for their sugars and may end up with severely uncontrolled sugars, may again continue for a while, not only when the person's on steroids, but when the person has even discontinued steroids, that may happen for a while. So, I mean, I don't think it's fair to prescribe and define, if you've done X weeks, you're definitely out of it. But as I'm saying, we're continuously seeing patients 3 weeks, 4 weeks after they were diagnosed. So clearly that's not long enough.
So, Dr. Ajay Swaroop, if excessive use of steroids, first of all, is there any quantification about how much steroids is too much and could lead to black fungus?
No, absolutely not. There is no such thing as quantification. Excessive steroid means, as far as we are concerned, that patients who are having a mild disease, who are being looked after at home, they are taking steroids either of their own or are being prescribed by their physicians. And these steroids are absolutely unnecessary. As already pointed out, they may be pre-diabetic, they may be non-diabetic, but the moment they start taking these steroids, their blood sugar starts fluctuating and they become predisposed to mucormycosis. So that is one.
So, Dr. Swarup, if I may interrupt you for a second, because I can tell you from personal experience, I had a friend whose mother already, she had comorbidities, she is diabetic, but the first thing when she was detected positive, she was put on steroids. Is that advisable then? Because then she runs a direct risk of getting black fungus.
No, it is not. That is what I'm trying to say, that it is not. For the first 2-3 days of COVID infection, one should in any case avoid steroids because you are likely to flare up the infection. It's not that everybody requires steroids from day one. You have to observe, you have to see, and when you put a person on steroid, he or she has to be warned that his blood sugar, they have to meticulously check the blood sugar, see that if it is going up, then they have to consult the physician. It has to be nicely controlled. People feel that we've never had sugar, so they're not bothered. But the moment they start having steroid, there are gross changes in the blood sugar level, and a raised or a fluctuant blood sugar is one of the most important cause of causing this mucormycosis.
So sorry to interrupt you again, but then shouldn't there be a standard advisory about this? You say that this is not advisable, and yet across the country, and many of our viewers would also bear me out on this, doctors are prescribing steroids almost immediately, even for people who may be patients of diabetes. Dr. Nikhil Tandon, why is this happening?
So I think you raise an important point. Why is there not an advisory? Actually, there is a very clear advisory. If you look at the national guidelines, which are the AIMS ICMR national guidelines, as Dr. Swaroop just mentioned, oral or injectable steroids are not advised at all for asymptomatic patients or for those with mild disease. It's very clearly articulated. In even in those who have moderate or severe disease, when the steroids are suggested, it's actually towards the end of the first week, ideally early in the second week. And I think we again need to really understand what we're doing out here. In the first week, the usual emphasis is to try and get viral clearance, right? So you're giving like an antibiotic for bacteria. You're trying to, if need be, you'll give an antiviral agent so that you clear the virus. The steroids are not given to clear viruses. The steroids are given as an anti-inflammatory agent because it's been seen that in COVID, you can get a very, very vigorous immune response. It's like an unbridled immune response, and you want therefore to stifle that immune response, and that's what the steroids are given. So it's really not required early in the course of disease, and these advisories are very clearly enunciated in the guidance and the guidance documents provided by the government.
So, Dr. Bhandari, today the government of Rajasthan declared it an epidemic. How does that change things? What is the purpose of declaring it an epidemic? And why isn't it being done across all states?
You're absolutely correct. First of all,
Dr.
you
Bhandari.
talked about the advisory and conceptuality. Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you that mucormycosis happens when there is a compromise in immunity. I must explain to you what, after all, this COVID infection is. In COVID infection, you need to know that mainly the first 2 weeks are matter of concern. The first week of COVID infection is known as a viral phase, when there is a replication of virus and virus grows. But first phase is a phase where patient need to be just treated symptomatically, and if at all the patient has an increasing requirement of oxygen, his condition is not well, his oxygen saturation on 6-minute walk test, I'm talking in terms of advisory you talked about. So in first week, if the patient is stable, he need not to be given anything except supportive treatment. But if 6-minute walk test, his oxygen saturation falls by 4 to 5 centimeters, he continues to run high fever, then he can be taken for antiviral drugs like remdesivir is one drug. So truly speaking, in first week, you just need to take care of by reducing the virus replication by giving antiviral drug. There is no scope of a steroid in the first week. If accidentally someone gives a steroid in first week, it will reduce the clearance of the virus. Normally it is believed, you must have seen in new guidelines of ICMR, that if someone is at home quarantine, he can get the RT-PCR tested done on day 1 and at the end of 10 days, because it's believed that virus gets cleared in 9 to 10 days, he can resume his activity without getting RT-PCR done. So there is no scope of any steroid in first week unless the patient has a specific situation of falling saturation and being toxic and high-grade fever. The second week of the COVID infection is known as a week of cytokine storm. It is a condition when the infection is followed by
Dr.
inflammation.
Bhandari, I really apologize for interrupting you because
there
are so many
like
questions
CRP.
that viewers want to have answered. Sorry to interrupt you, but the very specific question I wanted to know about, what is the purpose of declaring it an epidemic and how does it change things for the patient? If I am somebody living in Rajasthan, how does it change things?
Now, what happens, state advisory, it makes a notifiable disease. It means anyone who has been diagnosed to have black fungus or the mucormycosis has to notify. The state authorities have to have the total stock of the number of the cases so that we come to know where is the fault, where the steroids are being unethically used, where the diabetes is not being controlled. Like I give an example, being a notifiable disease, there will be total control of the number from which geographical area the cases are coming, which rural area the cases are coming, from which part the patients are coming. We had a broad survey and it was brought to the notice that people who are being treated in the institutes of repute where there are hardly any cases of mucormycosis, the people who have taken the online consultations, people who have been treated by not so qualified doctors, on day 1 they have been put on the high doses of steroid, which has not been tapered, which has been continuous when not required. So definitely being a notifiable disease, we'll come to know the profile of the patient, where they are coming from, which places, where they are being treated, and it will be very important and very prudent to
Then
monitor.
don't you recommend
the
that this should
ethical
happen across the
application of
country?
The steroids, the good
Because now we
control
have
of
10
diabetes,
states which have
taking-
reported such cases.
Truly speaking, theoretically what you say has a meaning, because by being a notifiable disease, it is very easy to track the source of the area, source of the P area, and from which the P patients are coming, and the monitoring of each patient, identifying the gaps. I think it has a lot of meaning, and I'm sure with this notifiable status of the disease, we'll be able to enforce the strict protocol, better monitoring, take care of all the uncontrolled diabetes. So I'm sure it has
Here's
a meaning,
hoping
and
that
the
this
more
is something
states
that the
follow it,
government takes note
probably we'll
of.
be able to
Dr.
tide it over
Hegde,
better.
two specific questions. Cases that we have heard of in the recent past. Young colleagues of ours, not on steroids, recovered at home, contracted mucormycosis. Now, where did they get it from? Could it be airborne? Does the changing weather have anything to do with it? Because it follows to reason that in a humid atmosphere, fungal growth would be greater.
The Bucher spores are actually part of your natural nasopharyngeal, the nose flora itself. There is a microbial flora in the nose, so the Bucher spores is always there in the. So there might not be an external source as such. So the issue here is that the environment for the growing of the mucor is being enabled by the reducing immunity of the body. A regular person who's healthy, who's not having any immune issues, they do not have mucormycosis infections and so when the body's immunity, the defense systems, the first line of defense against the outside microbial, so that when that is breached by the sugars being very high and the immune system being very burnt out, so those are the things that contribute to mucormycosis infection. It's not that.
So my question to you is then, Dr. Hegde, is it possible that somebody who's not necessarily taken steroids and who may not even be a diabetes patient could still get it?
So
yes,
is that
if
for
the
me?
blood sugars. Sorry. Yeah. If the blood sugars
Dr.
are
Hegde, that's to
increased,
you.
yeah, we are seeing patients who were not previously diabetic, but are presenting with mucormycosis as their first presentation. But when we check their blood sugars are very high. So they could have been a pre-diabetic. That is, they were on the verge of being diabetic, and the COVID infection has just pushed them over the edge. So the blood sugars, we have not seen any patient.
Dr. Tandon, is it correct? Do we have enough medicine in stock for the treatment of mucormycosis, and is anything being done to ramp up production? Because today we had the Delhi government tell the Delhi High Court also that we do not have enough buffer stock.
So, I mean, I think that's a very important question, and perhaps I'm not the right person to ask that because I don't coordinate, drug availability in the city of Delhi. But I'm given to understand that the government of the National Capital Territory of Delhi has put together a committee so that there is some degree of systematic. You need to requisition those drugs by getting an approval from that committee. That's what I'm aware of. In terms of absolute numbers, I think you raise a very important point. Because, these are not drugs which are usually required in very large amounts, and there's a sudden influx of a large number of patients. I mean, this is multiplied several fold. So there will be manufacturing capacity, but whether they've got adequate stocks to put them immediately into the market is perhaps what the manufacturers will be better placed to tell us.
Also, final question to you, Dr. Ajay Swaroop. Why don't we have a uniform treatment protocol across the country? I was reading the ICMR guidelines that have been put out. It talks about the use of sterile water for humidifiers. We have discussed at length the use of steroids, etc. But clearly, in terms of implementation, it is not being done across the country, especially when we talk about rural India. Expecting sterile water there is quite an ask.
Well, I totally agree with that. Even let's not talk of rural India, even in urban India, even in big hospitals, we have just woken up to this threat. You see, the point is mucormycosis is such a rare occurrence that neither there is drug nor is there any facility for increasing the production, because previously, about 1 month back, we were seeing 1 to 2 cases in 6 months. So there was no problem of amphotericin B. Now I have 60 patients admitted at Gangaram Hospital, and I don't have any stock of amphotericin B to manage these patients for another 2 days. And there has been a committee which has been set up. We are sending the details, and let us hope that something comes out of it. But having said that, similarly, there are
very
no
quick follow-up question to you,
no
sir.
protocol.
Amphotericin is a sure shot cure, as in I can save my eyes if I take this drug, even if I am in an advanced stage of infection?
Well, at least if not save your eyes, it will save your life. It can try to save your life. It is the only known antifungal drug which acts on mucor. That's all that I can say. Once a disease has spread to the eye, if the optic nerve has been affected, then nothing can save it.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that. This is an ongoing conversation, but a very important one, considering just the scale of the spread of this disease that we've seen so far. 3 very important issues, of course: the usage of steroids, the availability of the medicine, and making sure that the guidelines are uniformly applied across the country. This is something that we need to be prepared for right now before this blows up in our face. That was the limited point of this. For that, sharing your wisdom with us, thank you very much, all doctors, for having joined us.